Okay, recording in progress. Oh, I did not mean to do that. Okay, so with all of that said, we can now get on into things. So, Youth Female Empowerment Workshop with Izzy Lapidus. Hello, that is me. And with that, allow me to formally introduce myself. Hi, everyone. My name is Izzy. I use she, her pronouns, and I am 18 years old. I am a graduate of LaGuardia Arts High School. If that name sounds at all familiar, that is because Timothée Chalamet, among others, went there. I am a proud New Yorker. I was born and raised in Brooklyn, and I am sticking in New York for another 4 years and probably the rest of my life. As a college student at Barnard College of Columbia University, I'm a rising sophomore, and at school, I am majoring in computer science and minoring in education. It took me a while to get here. Still have not formally declared either of those, but I think we're confident in this decision. Check back with me in a year where I will have formally declared by then. I am also a former astrophysics researcher. I'm going to be talking a bit about my research today, and if we have time at the end, I would be happy to answer any other questions about it. And where I'm at right now, my current passions are very centered around tech and using tech to storytell, to express myself, and ultimately to make the world a better place in some capacity. I am very active across all social media and in real life, wherever you find me. I'm always talking about STEM. A lot of what I talk about is how we can make STEM, the STEM community, a more inclusive place for women and girls, but really anyone who isn't a white man who feels as though STEM is not necessarily for them. I am here to always say that that's not true, that there is a place for you in this community, that you are needed in this community. So that is a lot of what I'm all about just as a human being in general. My ultimate goal as a person is to re-envision the way that we view STEM as a society. Basically, every single negative connotation that people have with STEM, I want to find a way to rebrand that, reimagine that, and make it so that this community is more inclusive for everyone who wants to be a part of it. And that's me. I took that picture on my phone. I liked my outfit and I was very coordinated. I'm all about the color coordination. If you follow me on Instagram, you will notice that I'm a very color coordinated human being, and scattered about me are just some emojis. I feel like emojis just make everyone's day better. So that is what we're here to do. So before I continue to talk about myself and female empowerment in STEM for the next 41 minutes. I would love to get to know all of you a little bit. So if you're comfortable, if you're not, no worries, but I would love to get your names, ages, pronouns, current locations, and what you are currently passionate about in the chat. And I will go ahead and share these out so that we can all get to know each other a little bit more as well. So I'll just give you all a couple minutes to respond there, and then we shall continue. And so sorry if I butcher any of your names. Honestly, names are really not my jam, but we're gonna try my hardest, okay? We got Cho, who is 17, she, her, Canada, what am I doing? California, and computer science, amazing, love it, me too. We got Ona, 15, she, her, New York City, hey, squad, same. Biology, amazing, love it. We got Ariane, she, her, in Nicaragua, swag. In education and computer science, oh my God, squad, look at that. We are basically twins. We got, wow, that is a dope name. We got Shizater, that's definitely incorrect, but I like how it's spelled. 16, dope, Texas, cool. She, her, not sure what your passion is. That's totally okay. Maybe if passion isn't the right word, I'm gonna say that word so much right now, like I'm giving y'all a warning. That's basically what this whole talk is about. If that word scares you, I will talk about that a little bit later. But when I say that, I mean like literally anything that you're like, damn, that is cool. Anything that makes you excited about in life. Like, I feel like passion has such an intense connotation with it. And I just think of passion as anything that gets you excited in some capacity. Oh, I didn't even read that. She's a tear. Okay, cool. Great name. Love it. Hi, Isabella. Hello, nice to meet you. NYC medical stuff. Cool. I like the ambiguity of that response. Very nice. Hi, Gabriella, 14. Okay, love it. We got some younger folks in the house. San Francisco, great city. I would like to live there next summer. That is my goal. And marine biology. My best friend is pursuing marine biology. My best friend actually told me when she was 7 years old that she wanted to be a scientist and wanted to pursue marine biology. And that was before I discovered my whole interest in STEM. And I actually laughed in her face because the idea of wanting to be a scientist as a girl at that age where I was at in life was completely unheard of to me, which is funny where I go into this whole talk about how I've discovered my passion in STEM. But marine biology is super dope. She's now at Miami majoring in marine biology. So she stuck with that passion for a really long time, which means you can too. Okay, and we have Cynthia, hello, 15, she, her, Ottawa, Canada, cool. I am friends with someone from Canada. I do not know where they are from in Canada though. Interested in medicine and how it works with tech. Dope. Mostly mental health related, but others is fun too. Love it. Amazing. Great field. We need more of that. Keep that up. Hello, Athena. Nice to meet you. 14, another 14-year-old in the house. Okay. San Francisco, swag, NCS. Gang, me too. Okay. I think that was an ample amount of time. I am going to continue on now. Thank you all for introducing yourself. Definitely makes this feel a little bit less like we're all really far apart from each other. And I always like to get to know the people that I'm talking to. So thank you all for letting me get to know you a little bit. Okay, dope. Let us continue on with this workshop now. So my whole story, where it begins, is that I spent my entire childhood dreaming of becoming an astrophysicist when I grew up. And I really mean from about age 8, this was my whole jam. And I have vivid memories of being in elementary school, and they'd give you like that piece of paper, there'd be a big rectangle and like 3 lines, and they'd ask you what you want to be when you grow up. They'd make you draw a picture and write a little sentence. Well, I remember having to ask my teachers how to spell astrophysicist because I had no idea. Honestly, sometimes I still mess that word up because it is a hard one. But this was the passion I had from a very young age, and I was determined to become an astrophysicist when I grew up. So where this actually began, age 8, as I said, and I became mesmerized by the projected cosmos in the Hayden Planetarium at the American Museum of Natural History in New York City. If that museum name sounds at all familiar, it is where the Night at the Museum movies were filmed. And if y'all have never been to a planetarium, highly recommend it. Literally feels like you are floating around in the middle of space. And for me, as a little 8-year-old, I was just freaking obsessed with this thing. I thought it was the coolest experience of my life. And I said to myself, oh my gosh, people can like study space with their whole lives. Okay, cool. Sign me up. So if you ask me between the ages of 8 and 17, what I wanted to be when I grew up, I would have proudly declared that I wanted to be an astrophysicist. And this passion took me all throughout my childhood, as I said, to the point where when I was 17, I was lucky enough to be able to conduct research as an intern at the American Museum of Natural History astrophysics department. So super cool. 9 years later that we did a whole full circle moment there. It was crazy to actually step foot back in the planetarium because I hadn't gone in a really long time. I definitely went after age 8, but it was crazy to now be in there with my mentor who I was conducting research under, and thinking to myself, oh my God, this is the same place where I first became interested in this thing. And now here we are actually doing research. So really, really cool for me to have that experience. And basically my team spent about 10 months writing code in Python to analyze images of brown dwarfs. If you don't know what a brown dwarf is, no worries. If you know what a planet is, you know what a star is, you basically know what a brown dwarf is. It kind of takes up this middle area in between. Brown dwarfs have a lot of similar properties to both planets and stars. So by studying them, astronomers and other scientists get to learn information about both. And my biggest flex here is that my team actually discovered a brown dwarf 66 light years away. The team about this is that it was actually through an error in the code that we had written. So for all my CS folks out there, you think errors are always the death of you. Well, sometimes you might just discover an object in space. So don't hate on them as much as you always probably do. So that is just a quick little bit about my research. If you're interested, any space fams out there, I definitely can talk more about it later. But that is all we're gonna really dive into for now. And I'm sure you're thinking to myself, like, oh my gosh, what? Like, she freaking discovered an object in space as a 17-year-old? That's insane. But I'm in the same boat as all of you. If someone ran up to future me, as someone from the future ran up to little 8-year-old me and said that not only would I conduct astrophysics research one day, but that I would discover an object in space at 17 years old, I promise you that there is literally no way I would have believed them. And it makes a lot of sense that I wouldn't believe them, because my whole history and my whole experience throughout the ages of 8 and 17 with trying to do this whole pursuing STEM thing was definitely quite the tumultuous ride. But what I had that was my secret superpower beyond what I'm going to talk about a lot today, which is passion, this secret superpower is that I had my mom. And my mom infinitely encouraged me and my passion throughout my entire childhood, constantly reminding me that I can be anything I wanted to be, whether that be in the world of STEM or beyond. So for me, I never grew up with this, negative voice in the back of my head questioning, well, do I even have what it takes to be an astrophysicist? That was never really a part of my childhood because of the way that my mom believed in me and constantly encouraged me that I could do this thing, that I could pursue this passion. And because she believed in my abilities wholeheartedly, that made me believe in them too. And a little bit about my mom over here. Her name is Lenora Lapidus. She is my biggest role model. She was a fierce women's rights lawyer, trailblazer, and was the director of the Women's Rights Project at the ACLU for 18 plus years. So we want to talk about female empowerment. My mother is the absolute embodiment of it. So thank goodness I had my mom, as I was saying, because enter middle school. And this is where my story really takes quite, that's where we hit the valley points. We hit the negatives, we hit the hardships. So I'll start off with the good stuff, right? I come in as a little 11-year-old and I am slaying the freaking day, y'all. Like, I don't know what's good with me. I don't know what I'm doing, but somehow I do really, really well in school. I managed to get #1 on the high honor roll. My average as a 6th grader was 99.17. I still remember that because my name plastered as #1 on the high honor roll will exist in my brain for the rest of my life. That's the best I've ever done in school, probably the best I ever will do in school. So I started off really good. I'm doing well. I get that, I'm doing well in all my classes. I basically get 100 in every single class. And I'm feeling myself. I'm thinking I'm smart. We're doing the whole pursuing STEM, growing up, middle school thing. But then things take a little bit of a turn when we get to 7th grade math. So as I said, I'm doing well, right? I start off good, especially in 6th grade. I'm not necessarily, I was not doing the best in 6th grade math, but I did well enough to place into 7th grade math. And then things get weird. And I take a massive L on our very first exam and fail my first math test in my entire life. I did get a 64 on this test. I was very close to not failing. We're all familiar with the 65, but we did indeed fail. And this was really weird because this test was not that hard. The rest of my class managed to get in the 90s on it. So I knew right then and there that something was up. I got it. I said to myself, okay, 7th grade math, we're in the advanced math classroom now. I'm going to have to work a little bit harder. This is more challenging for me. I get it. So I get a math tutor and I work my butt off. I meet with a math tutor every single week for the entirety of the year, and I start to improve. By the end of the year, I am getting in the 90s on exams, and I had really gotten my overall average up in the class. But this, unfortunately, was not enough for my teacher to give me credit for. And so one day towards the end of the year, my teacher not going to use his real name, but we're going to call him Mr. O. Mr. O asked to speak with me after class, and in his hand, he has my progress report. And he shows me my progress report, and my average was an 86. To stay in advanced math for 8th grade, you needed to have above an 85 average. So I just made it, y'all. Like, we were close, but we did make it. But rather than my teacher, being proud of me, congratulating me for working my butt off to do well in this class, do well enough in this class to continue on the advanced math track, instead he says to me that he strongly encourages that I drop out of advanced math, and gives me this whole long story about how he took calculus in college, and he took the advanced track, and then it was really hard for him. So then he did drop out and go to the less advanced track, and he did better there. And it was this whole completely BS story that just meant nothing to me, because I wanted someone to say, good job, Izzy, you worked hard and you did it. You did well enough to continue on this track, and that is all that matters, because you put in the work. But no, he could only focus on how, compared to other students in my class, that I was going to be much worse off continuing on this track. And it really, really broke my heart. And this happened on a Thursday. And we still had one more day of school left. And you would think that that was, tough end of the week, but that's it. We did it. My teacher was rude to me, but whatever. I wasn't going to take it. No, I'm better than this. Yeah. So I would love for that to have been what happened. But unfortunately, this story does get a little bit more depressing. That should say 8th grade math. 8th grade, hello, can I speak? It's been a long day, y'all. I got my haircut. It's really hot in New York City, man. Like, we're gonna breathe. Okay, so incoming, that should say 8th grade science, or lack thereof, because I took another massive L. I think that y'all get the picture already, but like, my 7th grade class was just hella smart for no type of reason. Like, they were just really good at math and science. So there was no advanced science for 7th grade, but there was for 8th grade. So the whole year, it mattered how we did in our 7th grade science classrooms. But that what really mattered the most was how we did on this final placement exam to see if we could get into advanced science. And if you did well on the placement exam, if you did well in the class, it was pretty guaranteed that you were going to be in advanced science for 8th grade. So it's a Friday, day after that Thursday that y'all just re-experienced with me going through my trauma. Thank you for being here. And we're all lined up because it was the day that we were finding out if we got into advanced science or not. And, I still thought of myself as somewhat intelligent, right? And so we're all lined up and we're waiting for our letters. There were special envelopes with our name on them. And inside it was our letters saying, congratulations, you got into advanced science. So I happened to be the last person online. It's a Friday. Everyone's trying to go home. The lights are dim. And I'm standing there talking to my friends. People start to leave. Everyone's walking out with an envelope. I'm talking to my friend. I kind of, my friend ends up leaving. So she leaves. I'm kind of in there alone with my homeroom teacher. My hands are outstretched, expecting my letter telling me I got into advanced science. And my teacher goes, sorry, Isabel, we don't seem to have a letter for you. So I'm like, yo, what the heck is going on? First, this whole not good enough for advanced math. Now I'm not good enough for advanced science. The tea is that I found out that I also failed this advanced science test. So the tea also is that I actually have testing anxiety, that everyone thought of me as really smart growing up. So no one thought that I could possibly not be good at test taking and need to get extra time or something. But, whatever, we don't need to go into that right now. That's a different talk, y'all. But anyways, I didn't get into advanced science. That's what happened. So now here I am. I am 12 years old, y'all. Like, this was really quite traumatic. I remember so vividly walking around the halls of my middle school that are now very tiny, but back then, really dramatic moment. I'm walking around, it feels like this big school. I'm just this little 12-year-old. And no, I'm joking a lot, but this was really, really, really difficult for me. And I really do remember thinking to myself, how the heck am I going to become an astrophysicist one day if I can't even do well in 7th grade math and science? And this kind of went on for a while. Like, I really do remember really having a mental breakdown, kind of existential crisis type B, walking around the halls of my middle school, just full on sobbing, really thinking to myself, like, am I just not smart enough to do this? And then something changed. And what changed is that I remembered my passion. I remembered that I wasn't taking these math and science classes because I wanted to do the best on the tests, right? That wasn't my objective. I was taking these math and science classes and cared about how I did in these math and science classes because I had a bigger reasoning for wanting to pursue math and science. But forget about my bigger reasoning. I genuinely really did like math and science growing up. And because of that, I did want to continue pursuing both of these fields and eventually use what I've learned, throughout my life of taking math and science classes to eventually be able to apply that to my bigger dream at the time, which was becoming an astrophysicist. And so I came home that day after school and, I was still a little bit shaken up, of course. But I remember even on that day, I came home from school still kind of a wreck. And there was my mom, who still never once questioned my abilities to become an astrophysicist. And was still, when I'm still in the process of recovering from my existential crisis, she still continued to vocally cheer me on and reminded me that of course I can be an astrophysicist if that is what I want to be, and continued to cheer me on with this unshakable confidence in my abilities. And this is all just to say that I did continue to stick with math and science. I did stay in the advanced math class in 8th grade. I did continue to take all the advanced math classes that I could in high school. I took AP Calculus, AB my junior, AP Calculus, BC my senior year. I got a 5 on the AP Calculus AB exam. I continued to take science. I didn't end up, taking advanced science in 8th grade, but I stuck with science. I took AP Physics my senior year. I did the whole pursuing advanced math and science classes. And all of those experiences, all of those no's that I was getting back then in 7th grade, they were by far not enough to make me actually stop pursuing math and science. And I was still able to, but it was mainly because of these hardships and because of this deeper passion that I had, that I wanted to do something bigger, that I wanted to become an astrophysicist, that I did stick with these classes, and I was eventually able to get my internship and actually conduct astrophysics research. So it is crazy now to look back, as I'm almost 19 years old, on this whole tumultuous childhood experience with STEM, and recognize that the same girl who didn't think she was smart enough to be an astrophysicist is the same girl who discovered an object in space. And this right here is the power of passion. As I've been getting at, if I had listened to my Mr. O, or if I had, listened to that lack of envelope telling me that I could get in, that I was, good enough smart enough to do advanced science, it is so likely that I would not be where I am today. It is so likely that I could have said to myself, you know what, you're right, math and science, they're not my thing. I'm not going to do this. And that's that. But I had this deeper passion, this deeper dream of wanting to become an astrophysicist one day that was so much more powerful than any of these smaller scale no's that the world was throwing at me. And so this is why I say that in moments of fear and doubt, it is your passion that grounds you and reminds you why you're here. So I think that it's pretty clear here that really the backbone of this story and my story as a human being, and just the way in which I was raised, is my mom. My mom is very much my everything and the reason behind everything I am today. And during my junior year of high school, my mom passed away following a 14-year battle with stage 4 breast cancer. And obviously this changed my life in many more ways that I could ever possibly fit into a slideshow. But I absolutely would not be making the slideshow today if it weren't for my mom and the way in which I was raised and the person that she raised me to be. And when my mom passed away, as I said just a second ago, it changed my life in so many ways. But in one of the most profound ways was that it really made me think a lot about, what do I want to do with my life? And how can I best contribute to the world in a way that both fulfills me, but also makes the world a better place, and also enables me to be the support system for other people like my mom always was for me. And really, it made me think a lot about, what it means to grow up with a powerful woman role model. And I recognized how lucky I was to have grown up with my mom, who was my role model, is my role model, and who always encouraged me to pursue STEM. And I decided, and I continue to kind of reinvigorate this kind of newfound why every day, but that I wanted to be a role model or a friend or a cheerleader for girls in STEM worldwide. I always say that my mom was my biggest cheerleader and also the biggest cheerleader of every young woman lawyer, not woman lawyer, just any young lawyer that, any field at the end of the day, whether it be STEM or being a lawyer, or being an actor, whatever it may be, it is always going to be more difficult if you are a woman in these spaces that are male dominated. And my mom really showed up for every single person that was in her life in any capacity. And so much of what I want to do now is do the same, but especially for my STEM girls out there and for anyone who doesn't necessarily think that STEM is the path for them. And it was when I really got into this deeper why that I began to proudly share my passion for STEM, my story with the world, in hopes that it would inspire more girls to explore and pursue their own STEM passions. I ultimately envision a world where girls are exposed to STEM from a young age and guided by women role models all throughout their K through 12 education. I envision an inclusive STEM community that welcomes women and girls of all races, abilities, sexual orientations, and socioeconomic backgrounds to use their STEM superpowers to change the world. This truly is the vision that I plan to spend my entire life making a reality. And I really hope that each and every single one of you will join me. And I have a feeling that if you're at this hackathon, if you're participating in using tech to make the world a better place, using tech for social good, I have a feeling that this vision probably resonates with you in some capacity. So I invite you on this journey of sharing your own passion or your own why with the world. And I promise you that it will inspire someone else. Now, here is where I made a little comment about that word passion and, before we got started here. And here's where I'm going to return to it. I want you all to understand that it is more than okay. It is fantastic for your passion to evolve, change, and deepen as you get older and grow as a person. That would be hella weird if it didn't, right? Like, we're all growing. Obviously, the things that we are interested in should evolve with us. And here is a little design I created. Here's me over at point A over there, aspiring astrophysicist. If I tell you what I'm passionate about now, I literally will not even say the word astrophysics, y'all. I will not do that, because now I am an aspiring, that is a hard sentence, y'all. I am an aspiring computer scientist, educator, creative, content creator, designer, community builder, public speaker, thought leader. And I'll tell you something, I edited this right before I got on this talk because literally those words change so often, because I am at a point in my life where I am growing every single day. You're all at a point in your life where you're doing that, but I feel like 18, 19, 20, like your brain is like, oh my God, adult is happening, me, adult, I'm doing it, like, oh my God, what's going on? What am I doing with my life? So I'm definitely there with the other folks my age, and always in a place of really trying to figure out what is my thing? What do I want to do with my life? And so what I end up wanting to do and what I end up saying that I'm passionate about is obviously change. And I think that we have this idea, and I don't know, maybe it's that we grow up in, we all have internalized capitalism. I don't really know what it's quite about. That's a different talk as well. But we have this idea that when we declare what we're passionate about right now, what our career is going to be right now, that's it, set for life. Because we all grew up thinking that we have one career, right? And that once you hit 25, you're set for the rest of your life doing one thing. Now, I am really here to say, I don't believe in that at all. I think especially with Gen Z, like, we're all going to be having 5 million different career paths. I purposely picked an arrow here that wasn't linear, because I really do believe that the path of what we end up doing with our lives changes as we change, and that should be what is encouraged and what is thought of as more socially acceptable in our society than it is right now. And you can see down there at the bottom, I still have those arrows. I have a new arrow, and then I have question marks, because I don't know what I'm going to be saying tomorrow. I don't know if you listen to another talk of mine, what I'll be saying, what I'm now passionate about doing. But what I do know is that anything that I'm passionate about in this moment, I make it a part of who I am. I make it so that I am listening to that thing right now and I'm following it wholeheartedly. Because back to point A over there, aspiring astrophysicist, I would not be able to deliver this talk to you all right now if I had not embraced that passion of mine wholeheartedly. So I take a lot of pride in growing up wanting to be an astrophysicist. I think that it taught me how to dream big. It taught me how to take pride in saying that I wanted to be something that no one else in my room or in my classroom wanted to be. I know I mentioned that I went to LaGuardia. I went to performing arts my whole life. I've gone to acting school since I was 11 years old. So to say I wanted to be an astrophysicist while everyone else wanted to be an actor, I definitely got a couple looks every time I said that, but I took so much pride in wanting to be someone that discovered something in space one day. And I did end up getting to do that. So I think that a part of me, I am an astrophysicist, just as I am any of the other passions that I've ever embraced wholeheartedly. So continuing on, that was a bit of a tangent there, but hopefully y'all vibe with that. I really believe that however your STEM passion ends up evolving, that it holds the power to change narrative, stereotypes, minds, and ultimately the world. And what I'm always talking about is how powerful STEM just as a concept, as a tool really is. I think of STEM as a tool to create change. And it is so freaking important then that we have an inclusive STEM community made up of people of diverse backgrounds so that we can build inclusive, innovative products, technologies, and services, businesses, all of those words that actually meet the needs of the entire population. And I believe that through STEM, we can build a more inclusive world. One of my favorite sentences of all time, your STEM passion is a superpower. So the question I ultimately want to leave you all today with is, how are you going to use your STEM passion to change the world? And I want you to write this down. Maybe if this question right now isn't resonating with you so much, maybe you'll write it down and you'll come back to it later and you'll be like, I have an answer to that now. Maybe you have an answer right away. If you do have an answer right away, scribble it down. How are you going to use this passion of yours right now? What brought you to this hackathon in the first place to change the world? And I use change the world because I think that sounds inspiring. And I think that statement kind of just everyone's ears perk up a little bit, but changing the world can mean making some form of impact, literally just on your block or in your town, at your school, wherever it may be. If you are impacting just one person, you are changing the world. So take that big scale idea of changing the whole freaking world and bring it down, make it more small scale, make it more local to you, close to you. And I think that you'll find and realize that we're all capable of doing that. It isn't some crazy claim to say, I'm going to change the world one day, because I really believe that most of you have probably already done that in some capacity. And that if you commit to wanting to make this larger scale impact by focusing on smaller scale impact and smaller scale connection, and smaller scale just bettering of wherever that may be, I think that you'll find that you're going to end up making a bigger impact than you ever could have imagined. And with that, that brings us to the end of my talk, workshop, whatever you want to call it. I hope that this leaves you feeling empowered to take on whatever it is that you are interested in taking on. I really mean it when I say it. If you're at this hackathon in the first place, it means something to give up time on your weekend to build some form of product, service, idea that has the objective of using for social good. Like, I promise y'all, you're already on the right path. So stick with what you're doing now. Keep going to hackathons. They're awesome. I wish that they were more a thing where I grew up and just the communities that I was in throughout high school. As I said, I went to art school, so that just like straight up was not anything that I ever heard of existing. So it's so amazing especially for our younger folks out there, those 14-year-olds, and there's 2 of you, amazing that you're here right now. Stick with these all throughout high school. I think that you will be on a great path to pursuing whatever it is that you want to pursue. If STEM ends up not being your thing, I think that STEM is a part of literally everything. You can argue with me on that one, but I think that STEM can be used in any single career path, any field to make it better. So I really want to thank you all for being with me today, for giving me the microphone. This here before you, those are all of my socials. So I'm definitely most active on Instagram. It has been quite hard to be active on Instagram because I just finished school, but it's summer, we're back. We're gonna try to show up for the Instagram community now. So all of my socials are at Izzy Lapidus. There's my LinkedIn. If you want to connect with me, please go right ahead. I'm really anti LinkedIn because I'm just anti anything that like feels like the establishment, but I recognize that LinkedIn's an important tool. So if you want to connect with me, build those connections, I feel y'all, go right ahead. Connect with me, shoot me a note so I know where you're coming from. If you want to drop in anything you liked about this workshop or talk, that would make my day. So I'd love to hear that. Also, before you is my TikTok, also at Izzy Lapidus. Gonna try to start posting. We'll see how that ends up going. And the last thing there is my email. It is hello@izzylapidus.com. If you are ever interested in having a mentoring call with me, I'd love to do that. What I mean by that is if you have, something that you're working on, a project you're working on, or want advice on something related to literally anything about your life, like I want to be there to support you in whatever that means. If that's college apps, club at school that you're starting, planning a workshop, you don't know what to do, like please hit me up. I'd love to find a time for us to talk. I'd love for any of you to stay connected with me in any capacity. If you do choose to follow me on Instagram, please shoot me a DM. I'd love to hear from you. And that is about all for today. Thank you so much for joining me. And it looks like we do have a couple minutes here. So if I can answer any questions, I would be happy to do that. And I'm just gonna go ahead. I hope that, I can link my socials in the chat if you want. It's just my name, not too complicated. So I feel like y'all got the vibe by now. And I think I'm going to stop sharing.